Hello, YouTubers and YouTuberettes. I will quote some phrases here or paraphrase some phrases, sentences, and quotes and so on that I've heard during my lifetime, which have been helpful for me, and they might be helpful for you. I worked as an extra on the movie Yes, Giorgio. Yes, Giorgio, starring Luciano Pavarotti, however his name is pronounced. He was a very nice person, and he did have a very marvelous voice speaking and singing. He has a quote in that movie. Practically nobody saw the movie. I, of course, went to see it. And in the movie, his character, Giorgio, has taken his date to a restaurant, a real fancy restaurant with musicians with violins playing the tunes at the table, coming around playing music for you. It's a very, very high class restaurant with lots of waiters and maitre d's and so on. And the date is looking around the restaurant, noticing how gorgeous it is, but she and Giorgio are the only people in the restaurant. He has rented the entire restaurant. He's paid for the entire restaurant just for the meal they are having, and it must cost thousands, if not millions of dollars for that one date. And she's looking around, why do something like this? And Luciano Pavarotti, as Giorgio says, life does not have to be life size. So I like that quote. Life does not have to be life size. The movie Rio Bravo with John Wayne, my favorite Western. John Wayne, Dean Martin, Walter Brennan, Ricky Nelson, Ward Bond, Claude Akins, John Russell, Angie Dickinson. Wonderful cast, wonderful movie. And in the movie, Dean Martin plays the part of a fellow who has been heavily drinking, and he's known to be the town drunk, but he's sobered up and he's helping John Wayne, who is the sheriff, and he's stopping the bad guys from coming into town. He's telling them, okay, you got to put your guns over there on the post. You can't take your guns into town. And so everybody's going along with him, but John Russell, who's the leader of the bad guys, comes along with his men, and he's looking at Dean Martin, and here is this fellow who had been drunk is now sober, and Dean Martin's telling him, okay, put your guns over on the post. You can't take your guns into town. And they have a bit of a confrontation, which Dean Martin wins, and then John Russell tells his men, okay, guys, put your guns on the post. And then he turns to Dean Martin and he says, and I quote, every man should have a little taste of power before he's through. And he goes on. And I like that. Every man should have a little taste of power before he's through. And Clint Eastwood, as Dirty Harry in the movie Magnum Force, says something that is memorable. He says, a man's got to know his limitations. And I like that. Also, a line that should have been the last line in the movie Gone with the Wind, but it was like second or third from last. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Clark Gable's character, Rhett Butler, says that to Scarlett O'Hara, played by Vivian Leigh in that movie. And frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn is something that you will find an opportunity to use once in a while as you go through your life. Ozzie Nelson. Ozzie Nelson was Ricky Nelson's father. Ricky Nelson was a rock and roll singer of the 50s, but he also was a TV star prior to that. Ozzie Nelson and Harriet Nelson were the mom and dad of Ricky Nelson and David Nelson. And Ozzie Nelson was on some TV show being interviewed one time, and the host of the TV show was talking about how so many young people today using drugs and getting into crime and violence and all this stuff. And so the host says, you, Ozzie, you've been very fortunate. You got two wonderful young sons there. But what would it be like if you had a son who was accused of some terrible crime or had done some terrible thing along the way? And Ozzie Nelson said, there is nothing my boys, David and Ricky, could ever do that can make me not be in their camp. So I like that. That's parenting. You help your kids, okay? Let's see. I once said something to myself. I was pumping gas in Louisville, Kentucky. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be in Hollywood. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be something in show business. And there I was in Louisville, Kentucky, pumping gas. And I just thought to myself, it would be just as easy to be pumping gas in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. All I have to do is relocate. So it's just as easy to pump gas in Hollywood, right? Just as easy to pump gas in Los Angeles. The end of the original movie King Kong, there's a line that is very good that shows how when you analyze something, be sure you're analyzing what is the real thing that exists. Don't just say something because it's politically correct or because a whole bunch of other people have said it. At the end of the movie, the giant ape, King Kong, hate to put in a spoiler in case you haven't seen it, but he is shot down by some biplanes, dual-wing airplanes. He's shot down. And someone says the planes got him. And then Carl Denham, his character played by Robert Armstrong, Carl Denham says, "Oh no, it wasn't the planes. It was beauty killed the beast." And if you see the original movie King Kong, you'll understand that when they made the remake in the 70s of King Kong, they just missed. They didn't understand what it was all about. Now, let's see, what is this? Okay. Life magazine or Look magazine, I can't remember which one, but probably Life magazine. Sometime in the 1960s, they did a story, about a 3 or 4 page story. It's about pop art. Pop art is the art which is not Michelangelo and Bach and Brahms and the things you might find in a museum. Pop art is what's at the top of the charts, what's at the top of the box office, what is popular on YouTube or Facebook. It's pop art. And the one quote I remember from that article that really has helped me with the entertaining that I've done over the years: when choosing between message and style, choose style. Have the style. Think back of all the great artists who have made it, whether it's music or acting or whatever. They had a style. It wasn't the message. They weren't reading a book on how to act and where to put your foot when you're dancing and so on. They had style. So when choosing between message and style, choose style. And a movie producer, late 1940s, when television was first starting to make a dent in the box office intake of money, and movies had competition. People could sit home and watch TV instead of going out to the movies, so there were fewer people going to the movies. So in the late 40s, somebody was interviewing some movie producer, and they were talking about movies. Can't you make higher quality movies? Wouldn't that get people out of the houses? And the movie producer said, "We can't afford to make good movies. People might like them." So, something to remember. Now, let's see what we got here. Okay, this is a character, Harry Lime, played by Orson Welles. Orson Welles was a movie producer, movie director, an actor, radio personality, and he always was kind of outside the box. He didn't do things the way you're supposed to do them. And Harry Lime, in the movie The Third Man, which had a great theme song, the Third Man theme, Harry Lime is talking to someone, and Harry Lime says this, let me read this: "In Switzerland, they had brotherly love. and 500 years of democracy and peace. And what did that produce? The cuckoo clock. Okay. James Brown, the rhythm and blues singer, the soul singer. James Brown was being interviewed by someone, and someone said, people have been copying what you've been doing. They've been copying your moves. They've been copying your way of singing songs and all, and they're not as successful as you. How do you explain that? And James Brown said, I taught them everything they know, but I didn't teach them everything I know. Eleanor Roosevelt, First Lady, Franklin Delano Roosevelt's wife, said, a woman is like a tea bag. You can't tell how strong she is until you put her in hot water. All right. Louis Armstrong, who was a singer and a musician and an actor. He was in some movies and a bit of a philosopher. Louis Armstrong said, all music is folk music. I ain't never heard a horse sing a song. So that's something to remember. And Winston Churchill said, you have enemies? Good. That means you have stood up for something sometime in your life. And I will leave it at that. Those are some, words of wisdom or quotes or whatever. And I hope they are helpful for you. A lot of them were very helpful for me over the years. And I thank you very much for watching.